Hi guys, let's get started with the demo of F1. I am Miss Vishah Hussain and I will be teaching F1. I teach F2, F4, F5, F9 and P4 as well, and I have around 3+ years of experience of teaching through different online platforms. And I myself am an ACC qualified professional because a lot of students do ask me that if I am an ACC qualified professional or not. So yes, I am. Now let's get started with the demo of F1. The first chapter of F1 is business organization and the stakeholders. An organization is basically a platform where people come together with common goals and they work together to achieve those goals. They have a control on their performance, they have a boundary in which they are working towards achieving those goals. Example is an audit firm. An audit firm basically conducts audit for different companies, and there are a lot of trainees, there are a lot of managers, there are a lot of other employees that are hired by an audit firm to allow them to achieve their goals. Next, we have the differences between organizations. How would we differentiate between the organizations? It is very important to be able to distinguish between different organizations, and the most important factor is to check their owners. If there is only one owner of an organization, then such a business is said to be a sole trader. But if there are more than two owners of a company, then it is called a partnership. Two or more owners of a company, and it is called a partnership. But if the company is listed and it is listed on the stock exchange, then it is called a publicly listed company, and the owners of such a company are called its shareholders. But sometimes a company is limited, um, it is given the title of a company, and it has a lot of owners that are also called shareholders, but its shares are not being sold in the stock market. Such a company is called private limited company. Now there are also public sector companies, those are owned by the government. Then the next factor is control. Who is controlling the company or the business? If the owner himself is controlling the company or the business, then it is said to be a sole trader business or a partnership business. But if there are agents or managers that are running the company, that are looking after the company on a daily basis, then this is said to be a private limited company or a public limited company. Activity: manufacturing company or service providers. What does your company provide? What does your company sell? Does it sell products? Does it produce products? Or does it offer services? Profit or non-profit orientation. Now, if a company is not an NGO, then in most scenarios it is aiming to increase its profits. However, if a company is an NGO, then it aims to provide maximum benefit to the public in general. They aim to provide or maximize welfare. But other than that, if a company is not an NGO or a non-profit organization, then it aims to maximize its profits. Legal status: a company is limited company or a sole trader or a partnership if it's a limited company, whether it's a private limited company or a public limited company. Size of the business: is it a small family business or is it a big multinational business? What is a multinational company or a multinational business? That is that has its factories or that has its branches based in different countries. Sources of finance: whether a business is borrowing from banks or from subsidies uh, that are being given by the government, or are they issuing shares? If they are issuing shares, then they are probably a private limited company or a public limited company, because a sole trader and partnership cannot issue shares. Subsidies from the governments can be received by any type of business or any type of company. Often small businesses are being given subsidies from the governments in order to encourage them to um, increase production or help them out to set up their factories. Borrowing from banks can be done by a company or by a sole trader or partnership business. Technology: is it using advanced technology or is it using near to no use of technology, which means that is it working almost manually or is it using an advanced technology? If it is using an advanced technology, it is often believed that it might be a big company in that case, and if it is working manually, then it is often thought that probably it is just a small business in that case. Then we have private or public sector. Private sector organizations are not owned or run by the government, but they are owned by the private individuals. Like you and me, if we own a business, then it's a private sector business. But if a government owns an organization or a business, then that is a public sector business. Now, what are limited companies? A limited company, like I told you, private limited or public limited company, has a separate legal identity from its owners. That is, in case of a company, if the owner of the company, if any of the owners of the company die, the company does not come to an end. It does not stop working. Why? Because it has a separate legal identity in the books of the government. Even if the ownership changes hands, even if the owners die, the entity or the company shall exist always, until and unless and it has been said to be dissolved. Okay, what do I mean by dissolved? If the company is ending, then a dissolution is given, and in that case, the government removes the company from the books. The shareholders have the advantage of a limited liability in case of a sole trader when the owner is running the company alone, or in case of partners where there are two or three partners who are the owners of the business. They do not have a limited liability. What do I mean by limited liability? By limited liability, I mean that if a business runs out of cash and they have to pay to their creditors, then the shareholders or the owners of the business, in case of a sole trader or in case of partnership, they must pay the debts from their own pockets. They must use their personal money to pay off their debts. But this is not the case in limited companies. Why? Because a limited company is separate from the owner. So the owner's liability becomes limited to his investment only. The maximum risk that he has to incur is of the amount that he has invested in the company while he was buying the shares. I guess that is about it for today. Also, my teaching techniques include we discuss the concepts in a great detail, and after that we move on to the kits. We also look at the examiner articles. We discuss them in a great detail so that the student knows what the examiner is asking, because often there is a big gap between what the student thinks the examiner is asking and what the examiner is actually asking, which is why there is a lag, and the students do not perform as per the expectations of the examiner and they often fail. So we discuss the examiner articles, we do the kits, and we go through the concepts thoroughly. Also, I recommend all my students to either read F1 BPV book or F1 Kaplan book, but learning can be done from my notes because the book is in a great detail. You cannot learn each and everything from the book, so you can use my notes to learn from them. Alright, that is about it for today. Um, Please give in your feedback to the mastermind admin. Take care. Bye bye.